Hey, friends! It's your old pal, Barkey Dog, back with another movie review. It's Black History Month. Still. So I thought I'd find another movie suitable for the occasion. Now, I thought I'd found one based on the cast here, but as it turns out, not so much. I mean, you decide, does it fit or doesn't it? Still, even if it doesn't fit, I figured I'd watched it, so let's review it anyway. This time we're talking about Blue Collar from 1978. Our story goes like this. Three union men, Zeke, Jerry, and Smokey, work on an assembly line, and all three have money troubles. Zeke is way behind in his taxes and is facing a bill of over $2,000. Jerry's kid needs braces, and he works 2 jobs just trying to make ends meet. Smokey is in hock to a loan shark and is running out of time to pay up. Now, they're union men, but the union doesn't seem to really care about them, being far more interested in politics, corruption, and enriching those at the top. Finally, the three decide to rob the union's local office, thinking they'll find some dough in the safe. After robbing the place, they find there really isn't much money. The only thing they have of value is a ledger that spells out the corrupt leadership's cozy ties to crime. The three suddenly realize that they're in way over their heads and have some stark choices to make. The union isn't messing around, and now Zeke and Jerry have to worry about their families. Smokey is an ex-con and single, but he's on the spot too. Do the men go to the police? Do they try their hand at blackmail? Or do they wind up 6 feet under? Man, get this cast. We have Richard Pryor, of course, and I liked him in this. Now, Blue Collar is not a comedy. It's a drama, but with a few comedic elements thrown in. Here, Pryor is playing a fairly serious role. I've opined before that comedians are way better at drama than dramatic actors are at doing comedy. That's because, to be a good comedian, you need to understand the human condition in a way that makes for insightful comedy, and that insight translates into drama. Anyway, Pryor is in good form in Blue Collar. I did like this scene where Pryor is watching a classic sitcom and dropping a whole flock of F-bombs. And you see his wife there giving him some side-eye, as if she's thinking, "You're gonna do that? Right in front of the kids?" So you know that she's been down this road before and knows saying anything to her husband is pointless. This actress is Chip Fields, and she was in a bunch of stuff, including the 70s TV version of Spider-Man. She pops up in The Happy Hooker, which I reviewed elsewhere on the channel. Later, she took up directing, mostly for TV. She did a lot of work on shows like Young Dylan, House of Pain, and Meet the Browns. We also have Yaphet Kotto here. I don't need to tell you about this legend, do I? And another legend, Harvey Keitel, is also here. Ed Begley Jr. appears as a worker at the plant. We have Lane Smith from Lois and Clark, V, and many other things. We last saw him in Challenger, a movie about the space shuttle disaster that I also reviewed. We have Lucy Saroyan playing Keitel's wife. She had a limited career but appeared in several classic projects, such as The Taking of Pelham 123, Greased Lightning, another Richard Pryor film, Cactus Flower, and Koch, a movie starring her stepfather, Walter Matthau. After giving up on a movie career, she became a film archivist and worked in bookstores. Cliff DeYoung is in this as a law enforcement agent trying to bust the corruption in the union. He was in The Hunger, The Craft, Glory, and Flight of the Navigator. He was also in one of my favorite miniseries, Centennial. Finally, if you look fast, you may spot this guy. Don't recognize him? How about now? That's right, it's Bob from the '89 Batman. Tracy Walter is here as a union worker. Director Paul Schrader helmed American Gigolo and the 1982 version of Cat People. He's still around. He's worked steadily up to last year. Blue Collar was his directorial debut, and talk about a trial by fire. His 3 stars, Pryor, Keitel, and Kotto, all thought they were the lead, which, as it turns out, wasn't the case. The lead was Pryor, but you can see each man has their own scenes that mark them as the lead. They quickly grew to hate each other. And at one point, high on dope, Pryor reportedly pulled a gun on Schrader. Kotto didn't like that Pryor would improvise, which threw Kotto off from the script. Keitel had enough of that too. He and Pryor throwing down a few times. Keitel had it about halfway through and walked off the picture. He got to the airport to go home before his agent talked him out of it. So Schrader, who also co-wrote the script, understandably grew to hate his own picture, even disavowing and disowning it at one point. On top of that, poor marketing meant that the movie fared poorly at the box office. Despite that, the movie got a lot of praise and helped Schrader launch his directorial career. In spite of everything, years later, Pryor asked Schrader if he'd direct a movie based on Pryor's autobiography, but Schrader knew he couldn't do it while Pryor was still alive, because Pryor would go after him if he didn't like it. So this one is really good. It has a realistic, grounded, and gritty look to it, everything we see being shot on location. The filmmakers went to all of the big auto manufacturers to ask if they could shoot on a real assembly line, and they all turned them down flat. However, the plant making checker cabs in Kalamazoo, Michigan, was having a bit of labor trouble, and they thought having a film crew there would sort of smooth things over. It seemed to work. You can make out the classic lines of checker cabs throughout the picture, and we can see what working on an assembly line at the time was really like. The relationship between the 3 men is believable, even if behind the scenes they hated each other. Amazing. One thing I was really impressed with was towards the end, when Keitel is being chased by some enforcers. He's trying to get to the Canadian border, where he thinks he'll be safe. Now, while we hear the tires squealing and all of that, the scene has no music. No. What we hear instead is the sound of angry bees growing louder and louder. It was really something else, very clever, and the kind of out-of-the-box thinking we simply don't experience from movies made today. Kino Lorber has done right by this one, and their Blu-ray has a commentary track with Paul Schrader screening the film for the first time in decades. Well, what can I say? Blue Collar is a real gem, one I never seem to hear anyone talking about, and it definitely deserves some appreciation. The cast is good, the setting is real, it has an interesting tone, several surprises, and the backstory is just as incredible as the movie itself. So I'm giving Blue Collar 3 1/4 paws up. You really need to get your 70s on and screen this one. You take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.